Hi there, I'm Noel's uncle. I am a visual effects artist. I currently work at Pixar Animation Studios, which is in Emeryville, California. A visual effects artist is someone who uses computer to make pictures. At Pixar, we use computers to make animation for our movies. When I was young, I was super obsessed with video games. The thing that I liked about those was the stories, but also the graphics. As I got a little bit older, I started just sort of thinking a little bit about what it was that I really loved about video games, and it was the idea that you could use a computer to make pictures. I was really fascinated by that. I wasn't particularly good at drawing or coloring. I still can't draw really, but using a computer to make pictures was an interesting thing for me to learn. There weren't really classes for that in the school that I went to. So I just started asking my teachers, like, hey, do you know how video games are made? Do you know how art is made on computers? And they didn't really know the answer, but they sort of pointed me in the right direction. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn, the more other things I wanted to know. So I learned a little bit about programming, and that eventually led me to learning a little more math, because with some math I could make more interesting pictures. I started taking art classes, and then I just started smushing those things together in interesting ways to try to make the pictures that I wanted to make. In the world of visual effects, there are lots of different jobs, and I just have one of them. There are some people whose job it is to animate things. So if you think of a character in Monsters, Inc. walking around, there are some artists who are just in charge of controlling how that character moves. There are other artists are in charge of what the surface of an object looks like. So if you think of, let's say, Lightning McQueen, he has kind of a red color, this like red metallic paint. He looks like a race car. There are some people who are dedicated to basically controlling what his surface textures look like. Some people spend their time making things like rain or fireballs. That's mostly what my job is about, is working on what's called effects work. So I do a lot of creating water, fire, smoke, sparks, those sorts of things. Some people ask if being a visual effects artist is more about math or science, or if it's more about art. And for me, it's a little bit about being equal parts both. There are definitely some people who just write programs for computer animation. They just write software. And those jobs are very technical. They're very math focused. There's some people who just draw what's called concept art for films and games. Those people are much more artistic. I'm sort of in the middle. I do a little bit of art and I use a little bit of science, and I kind of mush those things together. Some movies that I've worked on include Brave, Cars and Cars 2. I worked on The Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory. Some of my favorite projects that I've worked on, though, are the short films that you often see at the beginning of Pixar movies. So I worked on one called La Luna, which was pretty fun. It involved scattering a bunch of stars on the surface of the moon. One of my all-time favorites that I got to work on was Piper, which was before Finding Dory. And that one involves a bunch of birds on a beach that are sort of chasing ocean waves, and they're kind of dancing back and forth. And that was a really interesting artistic problem, to get the ocean waves to look sort of fun, but also a little scary. The birds seem to be kind of like playing, and so the ocean waves themselves are almost a character in that film, which I thought was a really interesting problem. There are a lot of things that I really love about working at Pixar. It's really fun to work in a place where everyone is just really interested in thinking in interesting ways about storytelling and creating art. Another thing that I really love about this job is that there's always something new, a new challenge, a new problem to solve. I really love solving problems. I really love learning new things. And every movie that I work on usually involves something new where I have to do something that I've never done before. A lot of people might find that frustrating, but I find it really fun to learn something new. Every day is a little bit different, and there's always a new challenge to work on. Anyway, that's what I do. Thanks so very much for asking me to come talk to your class. See you later.